Hey everyone. So I promised you I was going to make this video. Happy Halloween to everyone. Um, okay, so in class we worked on this a little bit, I think. I think most of you finished this problem or worked on it. I saw that a lot of you were struggling, so I decided to make this video just to show you. Just to walk you around the formulas that you have to use here. Problem number one says find the area of the trapezoid. So you have a trapezoid that to find the area, this is the area of a trapezoid. Remember that you need to add two bases, base 1 plus base 2, multiplied by the height, and you divide it by 2. So this is how you're going to find the area. So in order for you to be able to plug it in into the formula, you're going to need to find base 1, base 2, and the height of the trapezoid. Because it's on a grid, you need to find it. You need to find those measurements. And the way you're going to do that is you can do the distance formula, which is x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square, and then you find the square root. And for that, you're going to need to find the location of your coordinate points for each point. Now, again, I prefer Pythagorean theorem because Pythagorean theorem, remember, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It's for any right triangles. So if you have a line segment, and I'm going to show you in a second, if you have a line segment, in this case, you're looking for the longest side, which is the hypotenuse. You have the A and the B side, which is the legs. These are your legs. And then the hypotenuse will be the longest side. This is where you're missing. The hypotenuse is the part that is missing. So you can do Pythagorean theorem. You count the spaces for where A is, how many spaces you have. You count the spaces for B, and then you square it, and then you find the square root out of that. So I'm going to show you how to use that. So in this case, the trapezoid it's you're going to have two bases. Notice the trapezoid is upside down. Now, if you look at from O to W, that represents one of your bases. And it doesn't matter if it's base 1 or base 2. I'm just going to call it base 1. And HL is the other base, so this would be base 2. Again, it doesn't matter which is B1 or B2. And if you look at the height with the right angle, this will be your height, this line that's through the middle. Okay, that's your height. So you want to find the distance. So in this case, we want to find the distance for all W. We want to find the distance for HL. And you want to find the distance for the height, which is HS. Okay, again, you can use the distance formula or you can use Pythagorean theorem. Okay, some of you cannot visualize or cannot make those right triangles. If you cannot do that, then go ahead and get the coordinate points. And in this case, if I do O, notice point O, it will be located on the x-axis at -7. And I'm sorry, -7 and -1 on the y. So this will be the location for O, and then W will be located at -1 on the x, and it's at -4 on the y. So if you're going to use the distance formula, then you go ahead and label your points. This could be x1, this would be y1, and this will be x2, and that means this will have to be y2. So after that, you go ahead and plug it in into the formula. Notice the formula has a negative sign. Be careful with the negative signs, because if you have a negative and a negative, it turns into a positive, and then you square it. Okay, you square that. But I'm going to go ahead and show you Pythagorean theorem because it's a lot, to me, it's a lot easier. I think for you could be also. And in this case, again, since we're doing OW, so I want to find the distance from here to here. What you need to do is you need to draw a right triangle. So that's my longest side. So to make a right triangle, I just go ahead and go across, and then I go down. And this is your right triangle right here. Okay. So what you do is you count the spaces. Notice I'm going from -4 to -1. So that will be 3 spaces. And then I'm going on the X, I'm going from -1 to -7. So that would be 6 spaces. 6 spaces. So what are you going to do? You're going to use Pythagorean theorem in this case. So again, notice on my X, I got 6 spaces. And my Y, I got 3 spaces. All you're going to do is you're going to plug it in and you're going to square it. So I'm going to use, for OW, I'm going to use 3 square plus 6 square, and then that's going to be equal to C square. And then 3 square, and I'm going to go ahead and do this one for you, right? So 3 square, that will give you 9. 9. And then 6 square is going to be 36. And that's equal to C square. And then what you do is you add 9 plus 36, which is 45. So 45 is equal to C square. And then what you're going to do to get rid of the square, you want to square root it. So you get the square root of 45 and the square root of C square. And in this case, if you do the square root of that number, and I don't have my calculator here to give you exactly, let me see, where's my calculator here? So calculator, let me get a calculator. And in this case, it's going to be 45, the square root of 45. It's 6 point, so what I get is 6.708. Okay, notice they want you to round to the nearest hundredth. So 100 is my 0. So what you do is you look to your right. And because it's bigger than 5 or more, if it's 5 or more, you add a 1 to the 0, you add a 1, so that would be 6.71. So my distance for OW is 6.71. So you want to do the same thing with HL, and I'm going to go ahead and help you how you make a right triangle from HL. Notice if I go from H, if I go down 1 and across, you can just go ahead and count those spaces. And then if I do HS, from H to S, I want to go up and then to the right, and I want to, that's a right triangle, so you can go ahead and count those spaces. And you go ahead and do the same thing I just did right here. So once you find your bases, which is OW will be a base, and then you have HL will be your other base, and then your height is HS, you go ahead and plug it in into your area formula. Okay, area of a trapezoid. So you want to add the two bases, multiply by the height, which is HS, and then divide it by 2, and that's it. And that's how you're going to find the area for this trapezoid. Okay, hopefully that will help you there. For number 2, notice they give you coordinate points, and it says it's triangle SBA has coordinates, and they give you the coordinates if the height of the triangle for the corresponding base. So the base for this triangle is SB, and this is very important right here, okay? The base is SB, and they give you that the height of that triangle, the height of the triangle is 8.89 units. So you don't need to find the height, they give it to you. And then determine the perimeter. Remember, perimeter, you have to add all the sides and the area of a triangle, SBA. Remember, to find the area of a triangle is A, it's equal base times the height, which you already have the height, so the only thing you need is the base, and divided by 2. Now remember, the perimeter, because it's a triangle, is perimeter. You want to add side by side by side. 3 sides, you want to add it. Okay, so in this case, I don't have a grid. So what I'm going to do is, just so you can see it, I'm going to make a coordinate plane. And roughly, now, if you have graph paper, you can go ahead and use it. Notice point S. Point S is located on, this one is going to be located on quadrant number 4. So I got 15. So let's pretend that 15 is right here on my X. And my Y is -8. That means I got to go down to 8. So let's say this is -8. So that means my point will be located somewhere over here. And this is S. Okay, again, do this on a coordinate grid yourself. And then -2 and 21. -2, that's on my, -2 would be right here. And +21 is way over here. So this would be B, point B. And I have point A is 0, 0. So this is point A right here. So now your triangle is going to look something like this. Again, do this on a grid. And notice my lines are crooked. Okay, that's not going to look like a perfect triangle. It's pretty hard to use this tool right here that I'm using. Okay, so remember what they tell you. The base of this triangle is SB. Okay, SB. So this is your base. And then the height, they give it to you. They give you that the height is going to be 8.89. So all you need to do in this case to find the area, I need to find the base, which in this case is BS. Okay, so from B to S is your base. So you got to find the distance, and you're going to find the distance by using, again, the same formula. You can use the distance formula, or you can use Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so in this case, you can draw a triangle, right triangle like this, right? And you count the spaces. You can count the spaces. How many do you have, on the X, and how many spaces is on the Y? Use Pythagorean theorem, and there you go. Okay, and then you plug it in to find your area. Now, as far as the perimeter, so per perimeter, you're gonna need the distance from A to S right here, A to S. So you're gonna need the distance for AS, and you're gonna do it the same way. So in this case, you can draw a triangle that goes like this. Count the distance that you have on the X and on the Y, and you square it. And then you're gonna need the distance from B to A. Okay, so from B to A. And again, you do a right triangle, count the distance, and you square it. And you're gonna, if you use Pythagorean theorem. Now, another shortcut, remember the shortcut that I showed some of is that if I'm trying to find the distance for BS, for example, I'm gonna take a shortcut, right, from B to S to find out the distance. So I'm gonna grab point B and point S, and I'm going to concentrate on my X value. X value is right here, -2 to 15. So if you count what is the distance that you need to travel from -2 to 15, that's going to be 17 spaces. 17 spaces. So automatically on my X, which is going to be my A, right? Or my B, it doesn't matter, right? In this case, the X is, notice I have B on the top. Then all you have to do is, it's either A or B. It's going to be 17 square. That's one of my legs. And then if I do the Y is going to be from -8 to 21. So how many spaces does it take you to go from -8 to 21? And in this case, it's going to be 29 spaces. So you do 29 square. So, and this is Pythagorean theorem. This is equal to C squared. So from there, you square it and you find the square root. Notice they tell you to round your answers to the nearest units. So nearest unit is like to the nearest dollar, the nearest whole number, okay? So you can go ahead and do that. So again, to find the perimeter, you're going to need to find all 3 sides, and then you add it up. Okay, you add all 3 sides, and that's the perimeter. To find the area, you multiply base times the height and divide it by 2. Okay, so that's how you do number 2. Number 3. Number 3, they give it to you on a grid. It says find the approximate perimeter. So perimeter, you need to find the distance for PD, for DO, and PQ. Now here, again, you need to, let me see. Now notice this point is slightly off the line. So I'm not sure. Let me see what it says. Find the approximate perimeter. Approximate. So that means it's a little off. It's a little off in this case. You could go ahead and use, let me see. For this point on the X, I would say if you approximate halfway is 0.5. So I will say maybe this is like, notice 1 is on the line. I will say this is like either 0.8 or 0.9 okay, on the X. Notice it's slightly a little bit less than 1, okay? So you can use either these two numbers right here, but notice it says approximate. So that means that it's close to. So again, you can go ahead and, if you're going to use Pythagorean theorem, you can draw your right triangles, count the spaces, and you will do the same thing on the right side if you do that. Or you can use your distance formula by getting the exact coordinates. Notice from P to O is a straight line, so you don't need to do Pythagorean theorem. You can just count the spaces, and notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is 6 spaces already, and that's your distance from P to O is your distance. Okay, so here, find the approximate perimeter. So that means you need to find everything around. Round your answers to the nearest hundredth. Okay, very important. 2 decimal spaces. And then it says if each block is equal to 25 square feet, then determine the area. So we need to find the area. Now, again, where the 6 is, this is your base. This is your base right here. To remember, to find the area, you're gonna need the height. So we have area, base, times the height, divided by 2. And your height, notice it is the line that's right in between, right here. And for that, all you need to do is count the spaces. How many spaces do you have for the height? Plug it in your base, which is 6, divided by 2. Now, it says if each block represents 25 square feet, so once you find your units, once you find these units here, you multiply it, then whatever you get, you're going to multiply that by 25 square feet. Because each block, each unit represents 25. So what this is going to give you when you plug in your numbers, it's units. So then you multiply it by 25, and that's exactly what the exact area will be for this triangle. Okay? So again, each little box inside the triangle is 25 square feet. 25. So you have to multiply by how many units you get when you multiply base times the height divided by 2. Okay? And then the last one, it says consider the perimeter, and they give you the perimeter. They tell you how many units is the perimeter. Okay? So, and find the value of x. So, and then they want you to find the area of the triangle. So 2 things. Perimeter first, right? Remember the perimeter is a triangle, so you're going to do perimeter, side plus side plus side. So you're going to add all 3 sides. You're going to add 25x plus 16x plus 27 plus 14x minus 45. And notice they give you the perimeter. They tell you that the perimeter is 10, 13. So you're going to plug in 10, 13 for P because that's the perimeter. And then that's equal to all the 3 sides that they give you, 16x plus 27, 25x plus 14x minus 45. Then you go ahead and work it out. You combine like terms, and you're going to find out what x is. Once you find the value of x, you go ahead and plug it in. Plug it in for each one. And this is going to tell you how big is going to be each side. Okay, whatever x is, you plug it in. Now, once you plug in your numbers, in this case, you're gonna have your base. Notice this is a right triangle. That means that this is your height. This is the height of the triangle, and this right here will be your base. So again, to find the area, you're gonna go ahead and do area. It's equal to base times the height divided by 2. Okay, so you're gonna take what the base is, what the height is, and then divide it by 2, and that's it. That's all you do in this problem, and then that's how you do it. All right. So if for some reason you do not understand what I just did, just replay the video, replay it 0 times until maybe it will click. All right. If anything, you can always send me a reminder if you have any questions, and then we'll go from there. All right.